Hey everybody, happy Torch Thursday. Welcome in to the Beading Dream stream. You're about to see me play with some torches, melt some things, hopefully not set anything on fire, and hopefully not burn myself again, because these creative swirly burns that I showed you guys last week came from me making the sample and being a bit of an idiot at one point in that process. So this is today's project. So it's a fun project. Oh, I didn't grab the sample. Ooh, wait, no I did. Where is it? There it is. Underneath everything. So it's a fun project. You know, if you like crowns and things, and this one's nice because it's not actually, you know, a tiara or a crown, so it's not super duper like, you know, I think I'm the queen of everything, but it's just a little fancy, which is nice. And you could also, if you were wanting to be like 20s, you could totally put it across your, well, maybe you'd have to reshape it a bit, but you could totally wear it across your forehead as like a bandeau as well. Oh, I do not recommend wearing it with your hair down though, because ouch. It's catching, that's all soldered shut. I have to bound on that later. So, let's talk tools and supplies for this evening's tutorial. You are going to need 18 gauge wire, and you're going to need a fair amount of it, so I'm using bronze. And according to my notes, you're going to need 34 inches plus 36 inches. So that is 71 inches? So you need basically almost 6 feet of your wire that you're going to use to make this. And so, like I said, I'm using bronze because 6 feet of 18 gauge sterling silver is pretty pricey. You are also, in addition to your bronze wire, you're going to need a thing that I had just a minute ago, and now I don't. Okay, I'll go grab that in a minute. You're gonna need a... Oh, good lord, really? Seriously? That's so... Hi, Smee! Oh, goodness.
Nobody likes you, technology.
Yeah, no, it totally does. That's 100% wrong. 100% wrong. That should be 18 gauge. Sorry, I don't know where that number, where that 26 gauge came from, but no. 18 gauge bronze wire, 6 feet of it, and a bezel cup and a cabochon that fits in your bezel cup. So I'm going to be using this pretty little green onyx today. And my bezel cup has RUN and OFT, so I'll be right back. Oh, and I need one more. Okay, now that should be everything. Yes, that is totally wrong. Oops is all I have to say about that. Okay, so bezel cup, grab another one out, and you can use a serrated edge or a smooth edge bezel cup. I'm using a serrated edge just because I have an absolute ton of them and I'm trying to get rid of them. So serrated edge means, oh, Amy, nobody likes you.
What?
Amy just got home from floating the river.
Oh, I didn't know she was doing that. Yeah.
So serrated edge or scalloped edge means this here. And unfortunately, you can't really, unless you have a very shallow stone, you can't really file that down because then you'll have pretty much no bezel. So it is what it is, but like I said, I have a ton of these in sterling that I'm trying to use up. And then you're going to need some easy solder and some extra easy solder. This is going to get really, really large. really, really fast. And so, okay, I'm going to wait till I actually start teaching to fix that exposure, since I don't know what it's going to do when I get the solder board under there. But this is a big piece of metal. It's going to get really, really big, really, really fast, and it's going to start becoming a heat sink. So you want to have, I did manage to actually do almost all of this project with easy solder, but you're going to want to have that extra easy on hand just in case. As far as tools go, you're going to need all of your soldering tools. So you need your torch. This is going to get long. We're actually going to make this flat. So you're going to need extra long soldering surface. I'm actually going to take 2 soldering surfaces and put them next to each other. You're going to need your pliers and your wire cutter, so round nose, chain nose, and a wire cutter. Flux, I'm going to skip pickle because I'm just going to go ahead and throw this in the tumbler when I'm done. And tweezers for picking up hot things and also for helping to position your wires. So I'm going to use my Vibro Grip cross-lock tweezers for that. And probably some other things that I will remember at some point. And when I remember that I forgot them, I will tell you about them. So I'm going to start by cutting my 18 gauge wire. Yes. So I'm going to cut 2 17-inch pieces. And the reason 17 inches is because basically from here to here on me is about 15 inches. So then I just need a little bit of extra for my curly cues at the end. So 2 17-inch pieces of my 18 gauge wire. Match that up. Okay, 2 17-inch pieces, and then 6 6-inch pieces. So the 17-inch pieces are for the borders, and the 6-inch pieces are for the little spirals that are going to go in between. So 6 6-inch pieces. 1, 2. Well, this one actually technically is more of a headband. A diadem is a specific type of tiara or crown, but this one really technically is actually a headband. I just like the word diadem because it's fancier. Five. And 6. But if you're talking tiaras, diadems are the ones that are more solid and come to kind of like that rounded point at the top. That's technically a diadem versus a tiara that's got, like, you know, spiky things sticking up. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and bend my spirals. So I'm going to take my one of my 6-inch pieces of wire. Hi, Corvus! Corvus, I will be working on the crown tutorial tonight at home to make an awesome crown for your labradorite. We'll leave that for now. Okay, so I've got my 6-inch piece of wire and I've got my round nose pliers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab with my round nose pliers at the end of my wire, and I'm just going to start turning a circle like so. And I want the end of my circle to be touching my other wire. Okay, that's important because we're going to solder that together. So you want to make sure that there is contact there. There. Like so. And then I'm going to continue wrapping around to create a loose spiral. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that with my chain nose and just wrap that around. See how I'm just pulling it around to make a loose spiral. And the key to this is don't over manipulate your wire or you will get weird shapes. So once I've spiraled up about half of my wire, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to make this an opposing spiral. So this one's going this way, I'm going to make my next one go the other way. It's true, I could use one of the sample crowns on my birthday broadcast. Okay, so I've got another loop, and then just continue making my spiral. Like so. So that's what we want. So now I'm going to make 6 of those. So we're going to go a little faster on this one. So we're going to roll our loop, and then we're going to make our spiral. And then we're going to do the other side. Of course. Okay, well, Amy, I don't believe that second part for a minute, but yes, you are invited to my birthday broadcast. Yes, everyone is invited to come in person to my birthday broadcast. If anyone wants to fly in from out of town, I got a couch and an air mattress. Sharon's giant rhinestone crown has been returned. That's
Hooray!
Awesome.
As it should be.
Saturday, July 23rd is my birthday, so that's my birthday broadcast sale. And it was decided last night that we would have in-person people as well. So it should be a good time.
Maybe you shouldn't have a tutorial that night.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Just have a long sale.
Do not know if the committee would go along with that. Because if I tell her we're having a large gathering of people here at Beading Dreams, you know that she is not going to be happy.
True.
And she might very well, as she says, put the kibosh on it. So it's probably better to just proceed as normal. Because she can't say anything to me about having a birthday party at my house, but she can say things to me about doing things here in the shop. But maybe I'll make it a really easy tutorial that night.
Yes.
Oh God, Corvus, seriously. You know, the only reason I haven't spiked or drank with Xanax is because I need my Xanax.
Same. Yeah.
Though I do have enough trazodone to fell a horse.
I do not.
Okay, so this is number 5 of 6. Wait, are you saying that I should put her to sleep for a couple of days? She's not Rip Van Winkle.
She could be.
So again, this is spiral 5 of 6. So you don't have to do spirals. You can basically do whatever pattern you want to on this. I'm doing spirals because I like them, but you can really use, you know, whatever design you want to make this little filigree bit. Corvus is over here plotting how to put my mom into a coma, but just a little one.
Just a little light coma.
Just a light coma.
Still gotta fight rent.
Right? Seriously. Well, considering that she refuses any kind of automatic transfer or electronic anything, definitely can't put her in a coma around rent time, because then I'll never get my money.
Yeah, and she still doesn't pay you on time every time.
No, but that's, in her eyes, that's my fault.
How is that your fault?
Because I don't come over to her house to get my rent check.
There's not a landlord in the world who does that. Unless the landlord also lives at the house.
Yes, but see, you're acting like she lives in reality. We all know this is not the case.
True.
Okay, so one of the things that I realized when I was making my prototype is it's really important that these spirals all be the same size, because what you can see on my sample where I discovered this, it's right here. See, this one was taller than this one, and so I have this little wiggle in my wire that I would prefer not to have. So what I'm going to do is not drop that on the floor completely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just stack these spirals up on top of each other to make sure that they're all, and the width doesn't matter, it's the height. Okay, so those are good. It's more like Pat Universe. I think she has her own dimension she inhabits. Okay, that one's good.
That'd be nice.
Oh my god, Corvus, seriously? If there was aerosolized Xanax and I could just like her, that would be amazing.
I would chip in for that for sure.
Okay, they're all good. They're all the same height.
Actually, I think you
Awesome.
can get a lot of people to chip in
Oh,
for
I'm
that.
sure. I mean, medical community, come on. Okay, so the big pieces of wire I'm going to put aside for a minute, and I'm going to make my extended soldering area. Actually, I don't need it quite yet, but I'll set it up. Okay, there's my extended soldering area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these spirals and I'm going to solder all of the ends to the ends of the beginning of the spiral to the spiral itself. So when you're making something like this, you want to make sure that all of your curves are soldered close so that it catches in your hair as little as possible. So that means that I can set these babies up. Like so, and I'm going to flux them. Thank you, Lori. So yes, if you want to, before you light your torches, take a gander at my 5-point soldering safety lecture, which Lori helpfully just put the link up to in the chat. Those are just 5 basic tips for having a safe soldering environment at home or being safe in a community workspace. Okay, so I've cut myself 24 pieces of solder with my handy dandy solder cutting pliers that I just remembered I had the other day. It's really fun. It cuts you a pre-measured piece of solder, so all you have to do is click it and your cute little piece of solder comes out. Okay, so then I need there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take and I'm going to place a piece of solder on each of these joints. And if you're having trouble getting your solder to stick, just dab a little bit of extra flux on that joint, and then that will help your solder stay in place. And that joint has just a massive amount of flux on it. You don't need that much.
Sure though?
I am completely sure, actually.
Lori would like to know why 24 pieces?
Because I'm going to need 12 for these 12. These 6 spirals have 12 circles that I need to solder together. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is solder the spirals together. So I just went ahead and pre-cut for that. And I'm probably going to lose a couple pieces on the way. So I really only need 18, but I am assuming that I'm going to drop some along the way, which is almost guaranteed to happen. Alright, so I'm going to turn the exposure down a little bit because you're going to be able to see the torch better if I do. Oh, yay! Carol is the best.
I know.
I mean, not that that was ever in question.
No. I just have another entry in the list of reasons.
Okay, so I know that's a little bit dim, but like I said, you'll be able to see the torch better. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is make sure that I have a solder pick in my left hand, or actually in my right hand, just in case I need to corral any of these pieces of solder. Yes, I have a feeling I forgot to put one there. Alright, and then I'm just going to heat these all until the solder flows. So just kind of gently heat it at first, because if you heat it too quickly and your flux boils, you are going to lose your solder pieces. Okay, so what you want is you want your solder to flow, and you want to see it, and there's a ton of flux on there. You want to see it join, which it did not. So this is another reason why I cut 24 pieces of solder. Sometimes you need to add another one to make that work. There we go. Okay, so you can see how that's now joined to itself. Alright, so that spiral's done. So now we're going to go to this one. So we're just going to heat. And ideally, you want to pull the solder. So there you go. See how nice that went? And I was pulling it with the heat. I'll do it again on this one. Oops. There. So that's what you're looking for right there, that little kind of triangle of solder. Okay, get those out of the way. That one. you can see it run right there. This one lost his, so I'm just going to pick transfer that over. And then there's that one. Perfect. So I'm just going to do the rest of these real quick that are off camera. Okay, all done. So now I have 6 spirals with loops that are soldered shut. So 6 soldered spirals is what I have now. So I'm going to unstick these from my board if I can. Be careful now that you've soldered them, they're going to be annealed and they're going to be very soft. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to heat these up a bit, because these off-camera ones are stuck with flux residue to my board. Yeah, the thing is, when you pry them off the board with anything, you get a whole lot of solder boards stuck to them, which is not going to do you any favors in your next steps. Okay, so now I'm going to solder my spirals together. So I'm going to start with 3 spirals all going the same direction. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so again, you need to make sure that there's contact. So now I'm going to flux each of these joints here and there, and then I'm going to solder those together. Caro, go home. It's almost 7 o'clock. If you're still here when I finish my stream, I will shake my finger at you. Okay, so now I'm going to put a piece of solder on top of each of those joints that I just fluxed. So, and once again, if you put them on as you're fluxing, they tend to stay better. I know, this is the super tedious part. You're like, this is not fun. Okay, so I've got a piece of solder here, I've got a piece of solder here. Now I'm going to go ahead and flow those. So once again, heat gently so you don't lose those pieces of solder that you just painstakingly placed. And then just focus on the joint. And there you go, see? See, you can see it flow right there on the camera. And this one, I need to just press down a little bit so that there's good contact. And there we go. Oh, no, there we don't go. I was wrong. we do not go there. No, we do not. There is right out. There. That's fine. Okay, so now these three are soldered together. Now I'm going to do the same with these three. Okay, so now I've got those three babies lined up. And I'm going to try and do this the smart way this time. I'm going to blop some flux and then blop some solder. Blop is totally a technical term, just in case anybody was wondering. Blop and blop. Can you see that second one? Yeah, you can see that second one. Okay, so now we're going to heat these. There you go. So you see, you want to make sure you see it connect. There we go. All right, so now we're going to solder these two strips of 3 together in the middle. This is actually going to be easier if you leave one of them stuck to your board, which actually would be this one, but it's not in an opportune place, so never mind that. So now I'm going to solder them together in the middle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 2 spirals that are in the middle going opposing. There we go. So that's my middle. So I've got my 2 spirals. Instead of continuing on in the same direction, they're coming together. And try and have it all supported on your solder board. You need to have contact at that middle section. And once again, we blop and blop.
Do we?
We do.
Okay. Just making sure.
Blop. Blop the flux, then blop the solder. And then we're going to heat that until the solder flows. There we go. So you see it connect. And now we're good to go. So now while this is cooling down, I'm going to take my pieces of 18 gauge that I cut that were 17 inches long, and I'm going to straighten them out. So I'm going to take my chain nose, yes, I totally just hit myself in the nose with that. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, grab at the end, and just pull that wire through my fingers. You could absolutely use a wire straightening pliers if you have one. I just tend to kind of do it the old-fashioned way. But what you want is you want it to be as straight a piece as possible with as little curvature, because that straightness is going to really help you with the next part of our soldering. And that's a really good trick that I just did. You can take a chain nose pliers on each end of your wire and just twist it and pull outwards, and that'll also help you get a nice straight piece of wire. So there is one, and here is my other one. So I'm getting it as straight as I can with my fingers, and then I'm going to do that plier trick. that one's gonna get. And then I am gonna take a minute to measure and mark the center of each of these wires, just to make sure that I get them lined up correctly. So 8.5 is half of 17. And that's just gonna help me line them up so that I don't wind up with, like, all of a sudden having to make my headband really short because I've got all the wire on one side and no wire on the other side. Okay, so now we're going to start soldering this wire onto our spirals. So it's going to go basically like so. It's going to skim, you know, the outside edge of all of my spirals. You cool? You're cool. Awesome. So I need to make sure, once again, that everything is level. So I should be able to take my ruler and put it like so, and it should be touching all the spirals, and it isn't, okay? You can see there's a lot of space there. So we gotta fix that. So the way we fix that is just by changing the dimensions of our spirals a little bit, rolling one side more, rolling the other side a little less to make that work better. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do in this situation, since there's still a lot of airspace, is I'm just going to mark which spirals. I'm just not going to solder to the edge the ones that don't touch. So that means I'm skipping the second and the third and the fifth spiral. Got it. Alright, so we're going to put this down, and we're going to take our wire and we're going to line the center of our wire up with the center of our piece. And it doesn't have to be super precise. It's just to kind of give you, like I said, a guideline so you wind up mostly centered. Alright, so then I'm going to do this one and this one. I'm going to skip this one here. So see how this one's touching and this one isn't, so I'm just going to skip that one. I'm going to do this one, and then these two I'm going to skip, and then I'm going to do the end one. So I'm going to start in the middle, and this is going to be easier if you do it one spiral at a time, because the wire's pretty squirrely, so it's really hard to get it to stay. So if you just tack it one spiral at a time, it's much, much easier. So I'm gonna need for this 1, 2, 3, and then probably at least 3 for the other side. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut a dozen. Okay. So I'm starting here at the middle. So I'm gonna go ahead and flux this. I'm going to drop some solder on there. I'm going to switch to holding that together with my tweezers. instead of my fingers. Oh dear. Okay, maybe I don't want cross-locking tweezers for that because I just totally lost that solder. Alright, take 2 with regular tweezers. Apparently I'm just throwing all of the solders today. It's great. It's not really great. Which, by the way, the haunted repair finally went back to its owner today. Hopefully I never have to see it again. I told him, you better not give me any more haunted jewelry. Alright, so now we're gonna heat.
It wasn't very nice of him to give it to you in the first place.
Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure he didn't know it was haunted. Also, karma got him because he broke his arm and got COVID.
Oh.
So, you know.
That might be actually too much karma.
Possibly. Okay, so that's soldered. So now we're going to move on to the next one that was a good point of contact, which was here. Once again, flux. So as you can see, this is really, at this point, just repetitive, like, you know, one step, do that step 10 times. Next step, do that step 10 times. So you can take this technique and you can apply it to almost anything. You can do cuff bracelets, you can do pendants, you can make bangle bracelets. Possibilities are endless. Alright, there, see that one? Okay, now we're going to move on to our last easy point of contact, which was this one here. There we go. Okay, so now that side is done. Now we're just going to shimmy on over to the other side and give this a minute to cool, and then we're going to see which ones we're going to solder on this side. And this, once again, this is the piece, my hands are dirty so you can't really see them, but this is the piece where I got my opposing little burn curlicues last week. Oh goodness. What is Corvus trying to tempt us with? Let's look while my piece is cooling.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, it's 50% off.
Oh, yes. That is cool. That's very cool.
Yes, it is.
Alright, so let's see if this is cool enough to touch. Okay, yes it is. Alright, so now I'm gonna just stretch this wire across and I'm gonna see what am I gonna solder here. So so it looks like I'm skipping. Alright, it looks like I'm skipping this one, but I'm going to do this one. And I think I can do that one, and this one. So on this I'm only skipping this second one here. So we're going to start with this one. My mom got my Uncle Gary a really cool book for Christmas, I think it was. That was about all the wallpapers that used to have arsenic in them.
Nice. That's awesome.
And it has like replicas of the patterns and everything. It's a pretty cool book.
That sounds like someone's thesis.
Possibly. But
But
turned
also
it
a
into
really
a
cool
really
book.
pretty book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like that one that Corvus just showed where it's like a coffee table book with like pictures and replicas of the wallpaper patterns and just very cool stuff.
That's really awesome. Either that or somebody wrote a thesis and didn't get credit for it. Because that's pretty specific.
It is. Lego. Okay, so now we're on that one there. Hey, Positively Crafty! Arsenic was used in a lot of stuff, also fabric, which was super awesome. How are you doing tonight? Did you have a stream, or are you not streaming tonight? Okay, so now we're on to this one. Remember, no contact, no soldering. That's why I'm holding it together with tweezers. Lurking and working, yes.
We wouldn't know anything about that.
No, we wouldn't know anything about that. Once again, you need to see the two pieces connect. Alright, and this one's kind of stuck there, so I'm just going to move right on to this one that is in perfect position. Yay for everybody being well. That's awesome. It's always good to hear. Get up there and stay up there. Oh my god, really? We're just going to heat it until it flows. And then you can see them connect. The good thing about this being a big ass project is you can actually see the solder flow much better on camera than my usual projects. Alright, and last one is here. Alright, there we go. So then I'm going to let that dry for a moment. Not dry. I'm going to let the solder dry for a minute. Now I'm going to let it cool down for a minute. So at this point, if you were wanting more of a tiara than a headband, you could skip the second band here, and you could totally just like tuck your bezel cup right there in the center. Where are you? Yeah. So you could totally just tuck your bezel cup there in the center or plop it on the front like so, and then it would be more, and then just bend it around, and then it would be more like a tiara that you could actually wear up on your head. I am going to, however, try and do the other band, since the headband was what I promised you all tonight. Okay, cool. So this is looking pretty good. So what I'm gonna do on this one is I'm gonna solder this one here, this one here. I'm gonna skip this, oh, this one here. I'm gonna skip this one. Yeah, skip this one, solder this one, and I would like to solder the middle ones, so I think I'm just gonna fudge that down a little bit. So we're gonna start with the middle, I think, and work outward. No particular reason why, just because. And make sure you get flux on your shirt. Make sure you find that middle marking that you made and line that up approximately with your middle of your pattern. Good. Make sure you line that up with the middle of your pattern. Alright, so I'm going to start by soldering this one here. I'm just going to hold that in place with my tweezers. Flux it. Drop some solder. And I think I'm actually going to have to pinch this one in place with my tweezers. Okay, we're good. Now we solder. Awesome. Move to the next one. So I am using sterling silver solder on the bronze. There really isn't a bronze solder that works well. If this was a really important project, I would use 14 karat gold solder to get a better color match, but since this is more of a fun thing, just for fun piece, I'm using silver solder. If you polish it up really, really shiny, you will find that the silver solder becomes much less noticeable because it just kind of gets lost in the overall shine of your piece. And so I'm still on easy solder, by the way. I have not gone down to extra easy yet because I'm not having any trouble at this particular moment flowing these pieces of solder. When I start having trouble, that's when I'm going to bump down to extra easy. So this is my last one on this side. Tweezer hand is getting tired. There we go. Oh, nope, there we don't go. Let it go too soon. There we go. Alright, now we're going to do the other side. But first we're going to wait for a second for it to cool because, once again, learn my lesson. So, tomorrow night is our Zoom Crafty Cocktail time. So we will not be on Facebook tomorrow night. We will not be on Twitch. We will be on Zoom. It's the one time every 2 weeks that I get to see all of your awesome faces. So that's going to start at 6 and run till 8. It's free crafting time, so I will not be teaching a tutorial, but Heather and I both will be there to assist you. If you have any questions about either our projects or other projects that you might be working on, we do not discriminate in our help. We will help you with anything and everything, even if it's from someone else's stream or bead store. We don't mind. So if you Zoomed with us before, it's the same meeting credentials as always, and Heather did send the email out yesterday with those credentials. If you are new and you want to Zoom with us, you can either put your email up in the chat right now, and we will get you those that information, or you can email us beadingdreamsdallas@gmail.com and we can email it to you from there. However, I can tell you that if you email us at 5:55, we're probably not going to get it. So if you want to Zoom with us, go ahead and either or you can whisper your email address to Heather as well, but do that today. Okay, so this is being a little problematic. This one right here is actually too tall. Like, all of the rest of these line up really nice. That one is just kind of off the beaten path. So I'm trying to kind of fix that. Okay, Rosemary, I will make sure that you get it. We would love to see your sweet face all the way from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think I got that to fit in. So we're gonna do, also, by the way, hi Rosemary. Alright, so I'm gonna do this one, because this was my problem one, and then I'm gonna reevaluate from there. Except for the fact that I'm out of solder. So I'm just going to chip myself up with a few more pieces of solder.
Weird day when 24 is too few.
What?
A weird day when 24 pieces are not enough.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've even cut more since then.
Wow.
This is a project that takes a lot of materials. Okay, so alright, so that's the one I'm soldering. The one that the solder just fell off of. Yep, that's the one. You are just being a difficult little pain in the butt. Let's try this again. Touching that right then was not a smart decision because I just had a torch on it. I didn't burn myself, but I very easily could have. Gosh darn it. Fourth time's the charm? We hope? Nope. Fourth time is definitely not the charm. Alright. I'm gonna try pick transferring this on here because I'm officially sick of this nonsense. There we go. Alright, so now we're gonna let that cool and we're gonna assess what we're gonna do next. It's probably gonna be this one right here. Yeah, it's gonna be that one right there. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Hi, Ace! We've missed you! How's it going? Alright, so there's that. So again, don't let it go too soon. When it's a joint like this that has a lot of tension on it, you really need to let the solder cool before you let go. Okay, so now I'm gonna I really do need to let this cool for a couple minutes before I figure out what I'm gonna solder of these last few. This is how I got my burns, because this side that I wasn't soldering on is not hot at all. So I was bending it, and then I got to the middle where I just soldered on the bezel cup, and that was where things went south. Okay, so I want to keep this line as straight as possible. So it looks like I'm going to be skipping these two and soldering these last two. Here. I was about to be hurt because you left me out. Alright, so this is the last one of the spirals. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and solder that bezel cup here in the middle, which means I'm going to find my bezel cup and I'm going to sweat some solder onto the back of it. So we've done this before in projects, so I'm going to just flux the back of that, and I'm going to grab a couple pieces of solder because these are tiny pieces of solder and this is a fairly large bezel cup. so a couple pieces of solder on the back of that, heat them until they flow. Like so. Then I'm going to grab my tweezers and take this, pick it up, put it solder side down on my center here, like so, and then I'm going to heat it until that solder reflows and binds everything together. And try not to melt your bezel cup or your other wires. There we go. That wasn't nice. So what happened there is this wire kind of collapsed and it lost contact with that bezel cup. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over and put a little bit more solder there, and then just try and heat it and push it down. Really? So I'm just going to lightly hold it against that bezel cup and get that solder to flow underneath it, like so. Okay, so now this is pretty securely soldered on. Okay, so once again, gonna let this cool, and then I'm gonna shape the ends. So on my prototype, I made these little double loops in the end, but I'm pretty sure that was what was catching in my hair earlier when I was trying that on. So I think I'm just gonna make the ends into kind of an oval shape. So I'm going to find something like a ring stick, and I'm just going to bend my wires over it. Ideally we want them even. So I bent my wires over my ring stick like so, and then I can just cut those. Make sure you flush cut them. And just a tiny bit of filing. It's not going to take much. Mostly do. So now I'm just going to solder that together. And I want to make sure that I'm not holding this down with my left hand by itself. Okay. Now we solder that. Bingo. Now we do the same on the other side. So again, I'm going to grab my mandrel, and I'm just going to bend my wires. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one and bending it over, and then I'm taking the other and bending it over the other way. And that gives me where I'm going to cut to make my little, I'm still on easy solder, yeah. So unless this last joint proves particularly difficult, I will have done the whole thing with easy solder. The good news with this is since it's flat, the chances of blowing a joint by getting it too hot, pretty slim. Attention fit that. And we're going to solder that. Back against each other. That might put my nails uncomfortably close to the flame. We're going to see in just a minute. I do not advise putting your hands this close to the fire, especially if you wear plastic nails. Alright, and there we go. That's our last joint. So now we're going to bend this, and then that's going to be it. Once again, we're going to let it cool first. While we are letting it cool, I can put away my soldering stuff. I can knock down everything in the process. Because apparently that's what's fun to do tonight, is knock everything down. Okay, awesome. Cool enough to touch. Alright, so then we're going to bend it. And to bend it, we're going to use, this cool, yeah, this cool looking device.
Do you need that?
I do not need that actually.
I'll just leave it there.
And so this is, let me zoom out so you can see it a little bit more. So this is a bracelet bending jig. And it's pretty cool because it allows you to get a lot more leverage than you could with just a mandrel. Oh, and I guess I can turn the exposure back up. There we go. So the way that this works is I'm gonna use the biggest tube here, and what I'm gonna do is just, and this is gonna make a really tight circle, and then I can stretch it out to make that headband shape. So I'm just going to start here, hold this against my bracelet bending jig, and just turn it, and just keep bringing it around. And I can, if I need to, because sometimes these spirals like to just kind of stick out and not bend, so I can tap on that with my rawhide mallet if I need to. And so you just keep progressing around and bending. Alright, don't hammer on your bezel cup because that's not going to do good things for it. But see what I mean about the spirals wanting to pop out like that? So just take your rawhide. Your wire is going to be nice and soft because you just did a whole lot of soldering on it, which is going to have annealed it a whole bunch. So it shouldn't be that difficult to form. If you don't have one of these nifty thingies, you can always just use your regular bracelet mandrel. Preferably a round bracelet mandrel. It's going to be hard to get the right shape if you use an oval bracelet mandrel. Alright, there we go. So now we have this. So this could be a little circlet crown if you wanted it to be. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to take this and we're just going to stretch it out to make that more oval shape of a headband. Like so. And that is that. So I'm going to tumble this. Yeah, it was totally those curlicues. Because no, look, this didn't tangle my hair at all. Easy on, easy off. So definitely go for this ending rather than the double curlicue ending because it makes it so much easier to wear. So now I'm going to throw this in the tumbler. It's going to tumble overnight, and I will set the stone tomorrow, and then I will post a picture in Discord. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us for our fabricated wire headband tutorial. I know it went a little long, but hopefully you all learned something fun and enjoyed watching me play with fire. Don't forget, tomorrow night we are not on Facebook, we are not on Twitch, we are on Zoom. And I'm Rosemary. I will make sure I get you that information as soon as I get off of the stream. She already has it. Yay! Because Heather's amazing. So I'll hopefully see all your beautiful faces on Zoom tomorrow. There will be no tutorial on Saturday. I am taking a little vacation down to Houston, so Heather and Savannah will be running the sale. So there will be a 7:30 sale, but there will be no 6 o'clock tutorial on Saturday.
And
So
it'll probably start pretty close to 7:30.
yes, because there's nothing before it. So yes, the 7:30 sale on Saturday, but no tutorial. So thanks again so much for hanging out with me tonight, and I will see you all on Zoom tomorrow, and then I will see you back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream myself next week Wednesday, but Heather will see you all on Saturday for the sale. Thank you all so much and have a great night. Bye!